Welcome, welcome, one and all. Wagwan. It's that time of day again. It's that time of week again. We're gonna get started shortly. We're sharpening up a couple of things. Soon get started. Soon get started. 6. The numbers on our draft has changed, so we're just updating the different numbers. How far were they? Those on the skirt. Alright, we're getting there, we're getting there. Soon get started. Today we're gonna go over some oh, let me open up the box. This one. Yeah. 97. Let's see what else we got over there. Kim, Lawful, welcome. We're gonna get started shortly. If you want to come up, you can come up in the box. We're gonna expand this live. Okay, catch up back. 86, 89, 93, 98, 303, 308, 313, 319. 319 is 52. Alright. We have 324. Alright, so just updating the table of contents and then we're gonna begin. Don't see anyone in the box. Alright. So we have just update the numbers real quick. 51. So 54. What do you say? You know I host the live tonight? Let's see. Alright. We got that down pack. Change this. And sentence case. Worry on yourself, man. Things will soon. Which one is this? 3. Got 313, 319, 324, and 332. Alright. So that is good. Just got to make these lines and then we're gonna get started. Alright. Let's see, oh there. Oh, there you go. Yeah man, come up in the box. Come up in the box.
Lawful mentor.
Lawful. Greetings.
Greetings. Nothing much. I'll be here keeping your company and I'll go on mute. Well, that will help for drawing some people from my side to come over and watch because them are going to pass in my business to see what I do on live, so that will basically track them to come over. So it's a good strategy. So yeah, okay. That's my purpose for today.
That can work out.
All right.
No problem. So, all right, let us get rid of that. Let's save this again. We're going to update our draft. All right, done with that, so we can get off of that. Let us put this here, so, and let us get started. We have some history we're going to cover today. also going to go over a post that I made today so that we can bring everybody up to speed. All right. So welcome everybody. Always a pleasure. And we are now at a stage of close to drafting completion, right? We only have a few more changes to make as far as all the suggestions that were made. I still have not updated the website with the additional suggestions that were made, that were submitted, but I will be uploading those shortly. The draft needs complete review. We have created almost all the sections of that. Speaking of which, where's my pen? What was the other one? Okay. Yeah, I just need to update endangered species and some things that people are supposed to eat, and them something there, right? And we're also going to include some more suggestions on possible punishments, right? And then once we're done, which again, this is going to take some time. Sydney, Lawful, welcome.
Long time, man. Welcome. Long time, you know, talk, you know.
Yeah. So I'll go on from your side.
And you know me, I was already when me come from station, you know me, a PMP politician, you know, say politics me come chat, me know, right? So.
Oh, no. We're not talking about politics over here.
All right. Well, you know, no, say, you used to. So you tap. Can me come for your station and more time and chat politics.
No.
But no say no talk you over here, you tap.
Yeah, me not talk that on my platform. There are other platforms that I might join, but I don't actually expand on politics over here.
So how people are run from politics and politics run the whole world? Where you go politics run the world in all natural politics there. So what me know?
Because we do something completely different over here.
Oh.
Yeah. So what go on in the politics we can't change. What we are talking about over here so is actual change that we can do, not what other people are doing and we can't participate.
No, man, change everywhere, man.
Well, listening and you can't hear what go on. We soon update you.
Yeah, I go and listen. I sit down and listen. I'm tell you, I'm a politician, so anytime I come adapt, I deal with. So I go and listen still.
All right, cool.
See me?
Yeah, so for those who may be new to this platform over here, what we talk about over here is the law. We talk about facts. We talk about history. And we talk about our current project, which is constitutional drafting. So for those who don't know just yet, for those who don't realize what is happening, we have a lot of distractions happening so far, right? And when I say distractions, we always have something in the news. We also have distractions in the news every day talking about something new. And it is always a distraction from what is actually going on, what is really taking place, and also taking you away from your power. Your attention is your power. It is not necessarily what you can do physically. It is your attention. You know how them always say, you pay attention, you need to pay attention, you should pay attention. There's a reason that terminology came about, because our attention is actually the real currency. If we don't pay attention to anything, then our energy cannot be expended. It cannot be exchanged for something. This is why when you sit in front of a television or you're talking to someone, you are giving your attention, but you don't realize the value of it. But anyways, not to get too deep into that. Our current project is constitutional drafting, right? And let us recap, because it's been a while since I actually explained what that means. So we are going to first talk about what constitutional drafting looks like, why exactly we're doing it, and how we can make a difference with it. Now, let us begin with the website. The website is voiceofjamaica.com. Okay? And when you go on the website, you will see this banner. Once you see this banner, that means you are in the right place. On the website, we have several sections, and much of it is restricted, right? But there are some sections that are accessible. For example, if you go to the downloads and you click on free docs, you have many resources here. Let us go over there and show you. You have many resources that you can use to your benefit, and you do not have to sign up. You don't have to pay. You don't have to do anything. You can go and you can review the documentation. You can review the links. You can review what is posted here on the free page. As an example, today we're going to cover a part of the Proceeds of Crime Act and also the Proceeds of Crime Act cash declaration, right? But you can also find the Constitution Order in Council 1962, which many people think is a constitution, which it is not, but it is being used as such. You have the Constitutional Amendment, which is the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms, of which many people are running around saying that they have constitutional rights. You hear this all the time. Oh, you're violating my constitutional rights. You are doing this, you're doing that. My rights count and this and that. This is where they get it from. Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms, which is mostly incorrect, the way it is being used. We have a notice of demand for release on one's own recognizance. If you go to jail unnecessarily or for something that you feel you are innocent of, this is a document that you can craft to your desire, and you can use it to release yourself. You don't need an attorney. Here we have a constitutional invocation and declaration of status rights and statutory protections. So again, you have several documents and resources on the page if you so choose to use them. You also have a solar calculator, solar design example, etc., 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 right? So these are the free docs. Now, if we go back to the home page, the first post on the website is called New Constitution. So if we click on this, this is where we have our constitutional draft, and it is available to the public. It has always been available to the public, right? So if you want to see what that looks like, we're going to talk about that shortly. And if you would like to make a suggestion on what you would like to see as a change in Jamaica in the future, you can add a name here, could be an alias, a nickname, whatever, and you can make a suggestion right here and hit the submit button, right? And if it can be made general enough to apply to everyone or make sense enough to include, then we will add it to the constitutional draft. And most of the suggestions that were made are also here on the same post. If you want to see what we talked about in the past, you can scroll all the way down, and here you will have each of the draft sessions all the way up to last Monday. So right now I think we're at 27. What was the last one? The last one I don't think is visible yet. 28. Okay, so I guess we're at 29. The last one should have been 29. So that one will be updated soon. So this is draft 30. All right. So what we're gonna do is before we even talk about constitutional drafting, we are going to talk about another topic, right? We're going to talk about the population of Jamaica. Let me explain something before we go on that topic. For many of us, we don't have access to, or we don't know how to find some of the resources that are available publicly on the internet. So we have been fooled a lot because we are thinking that people are good meaning in regards to us. So for example, when we hear about there is a report, we think that everything in that report is true, right? Of course, some of us will say, well, what happened to the other documentation? How come we can't see the receipt them? How come we can't see the procurement reports? How come we can't see any of these things? So that we can say, yes, this is true. All we're seeing is reports. One of those so-called reports is rather fishy. Last year we had an election, right? And it is said, and we're going to pull it up again, right? Blah, blah, blah. So it is said that around 300 and something thousand people actually voted, right? And we're going to take a look at the general election results. I'm going to show you something and I'm going to show you something. And where is the total? Them not show the total. So Carrie, I'm bringing you up. Oh, look like I canceled the request. Okay. Let's see if we can. Yeah, the last election in 2025. We're gonna bring up the results so we can speak lawfully, all right? Wait 1 second. General election. No, they might break it up in so many different documents now. They had it on the Electoral Commission's website. And now, let's see. All right. We will just have to get it from another source. So the Electoral Commission website is obfuscating the results, putting them all over the place. So let me see if this document will show it. Nope. So actually, all right, so here we go. All right. All right, so here we go. I'm going to show the results. You're right. So here I found a document that says, and this is from the ECJ, as you can see, ecj.com.jm, right? And they have a document here that shows the general election 2025 results. And we're going to just go by whatever they say. We're not going to speculate, right? So here they say we have 2 million electors. Let me see if I can zoom it in a little bit. I said total electors. At the very bottom, we have a 2,077,000. Right? The total votes were 830,000 votes. Right? And they are here showing, I guess, by constituency, the 10,000, the 12,000, etc., etc. It's a total including rejects. I am not sure what rejects mean, but we're just going to go by what they have. So for each location, apparently, you would have 15,000, 12,000, 8,000, etc., etc. So if we scroll over all the way to the left, it tells you where these votes are coming from, right? Let me see what these columns say. Votes, indices A, or INDA, I'm not even sure what that means. But the point we're trying to make here is this. They say the JLP. So we have the JLP, the JPP, the PNP, and the UIC, right? So UIC got 181 votes. PNP got 401, and JLP had 412. JPP got 2,040. Now, when we look at these numbers, right, it is said that Jamaica has almost 3 million people. And let us go look it up. Let us go back to Google. All right. Statistical Institute of Jamaica. Let's go there, because we're only talking about factual data. Eagle King, lawful, welcome. All right. That the website is slow. But anyways, if we look at, it says 2.77 million residents in Jamaica, right? Then say the current projections for 2026 population is around 2.83 million. So let's just say 2.8 million, right? That is the projected amount of people in Jamaica. So, them say, out of the 2.8, only 0.8 of the percentage vote. So our 0.8 of a million people vote. And this resulted in a 39.96% of the total population of total electors or total voters, right? So out of the population, 39% of people voted. Now, what I find interesting is this, right? Over the past, I don't know, let's say 20 years, right? We have no public camera system to actually see how many people are going into these polling stations. All we have are the boxes, the ballot boxes to count from. And in this day and age, you would be thinking, we would want to ensure integrity where we don't have to have any question as it regards to voting or even the population, as a matter of fact, right? So when we look at these numbers, we have to wonder, right? It is said that 800,000 people voted, right? Which is about, call it a 40% out of the 2 million, the 2.7 million, almost 3 million. If we are saying that in each constituency, right, we have 10,000, call it say from 6 to almost 20,000 in some cases. Right? 20,000 people going in to go vote. Right? We have no way of checking. We're just going to receive the data and just use what is given to us because we don't have any way of checking. We just see these numbers and these statistics. Now, if we're going to say, for example, 11,000 people, let's see where this comes from. Let's go across. Okay. This is St. James Central, right? Them say it is 11,288, right? And we have no way of verifying that. We don't have any video footage. We don't have any actual data. All we're going by is what was given to us, all right? If anyone look at the news stories, right? And we see what is happening throughout the day. We have to be speculative. I think this is why cameras are not instituted. I don't think that 11,000 people per location went to vote. That's just me. That is just my opinion, you know. I am not saying it is true or false. I am saying, in my opinion, I don't think 11,000 people went out at any location to go vote, much less 9,000. All of these numbers, to me, this is fishy. Especially where there is no transparency. We are simply relying upon what is given to us. Now, that being said, this is not something new. We go through this every year, every 4 years, every 5 years. Sorry, every 5 years we go through this, right? Them show you the numbers and them say, all right, this party win or that party win, right? So, over time, we have come to just accept it as what they give us, right? Now, let us take a look at history a little bit, right? Now, this is Wikipedia for now, right? But we're going to share some other sources. You see, when we look at where the population is coming from, right? Here it says, and again, we have links in between. So you see, when you see some of these numbers and some of these different things, you can click on them and it brings you to the source, right? It is said that the population of the island was about 3,000, including a small number of African slaves, right? And this is when the Spanish so-called came over here enslaving the Tainos, or the people that they came and saw, right? All right. Them say, you know, the island had about 3,000, including a number of African slaves. But the question here is this. It is claimed that the Spanish first introduced African slaves on the island. It wasn't the British, right? So the 3,000 included the small number of slaves, so-called, that the Spanish or the Spaniards brought over to the island. Now, let me show you something else. This is what is called a blue book. This is apparently right, same Caucasian race, but just so-called different mindset. Now, a blue book is apparently an official record book of the British, right? Now, hear what they had to say. Say, upon its discovery in 1494, Jamaica was home to an estimated 60,000 what? Amerindian people. About 60,000 when the British came there. No, well, actually, this is the Spanish. Sorry. When the Spanish came there, this record book is saying about 60,000 Amerindian people were there. It said the settlement of the colony by Spanish colonists resulted in the entire Amerindian population being eradicated by the 17th century, which is in the 1600s, right? The Spanish ceded their control of Jamaica to Britain in 1670. And at the point where these records commenced, the British were running the colony. Jamaican slaves were emancipated 2 years prior to the first of these blue books being published. During the years covered by these publications, the Morant Bay Rebellion of 1865 led to Jamaica becoming a crown colony with a governor. The violent strike of 1938 led to the formation of the People's National Party in 1938, and then the Jamaica Labour Party in 1942. These items conclude in 1945, Jamaica would gain its independence until 1962. Let us do a Google search on Amerindian. All right. This is Bing. No, so Bing isn't that great. We can use Bing too. This is coming from, it don't even show the source. But anyways, it says Amerindian, a member of one of the indigenous peoples of the Americas, used chiefly in anthropological and linguistic contexts, relating to indigenous peoples of the Americas. Did you know that Jamaica is part of the Americas? The formation of the United States of America is what excluded the Southern Americas from the continental area called the Americas, simply because of the slave riots. Because they could not control, or the so-called slave riots, because of them write it, they could not control the population, and thereby they excluded that part out of the so-called Americas and formed the United States. But anyways, so here they say 60,000. That is their estimation of the population when the Spanish came. And then when you go over here, so to what in the actual Spanish records, what them say? Only about 3,000, including the little bit of slaves them, what them claim say, them carry over. But anyways, when we look at these things, you know, and even when we look at, let me turn this around for a second. When we look at these things and we see that when we compare the records that they give us, I know we make the records, they give us these records, and then when we look at them, what do we see? Inconsistencies all over the place. All over the place. And I'm going to show you even more discrepancies that you cannot explain. Let's see. I'm going to pull up. All right, here we go. Let's get this one over here. So, all right. Now let me show you other records. This is what is called the U.S. History Collection. And based on the records in the US archives, this is the population from 1610 coming all the way to 2010, right? 2010 over here, so them say 300 million. Now, people, look on this, right? Tell me if this makes sense, In 1610, the population in the United States was 350. In 10 years, you have over 2,000 people. You see, I wonder if you really see what I'm going. In 10 years, this 350 times 2 are 700, right? Almost 8 times the population by 1620. I showed the world map before, Let me show you something. Let us zoom out. Let us zoom all the way out. Right? We looked at this before. Right? We're on Google. Let us look at Spain, France, and the UK. And let us also take into account that what we see today was nothing compared to what was back then. Even in Spain and the UK, the population was not that great to have no large numbers of people migrating and, getting on ships to come to Jamaica and all these other places. Look at, matter of fact, let me zoom back out so you can see the size of what we're talking about. So if you look at Spain, right? See Spain here, so this is Spain. Now let's go over here, so. Look at America. So Spain come over here, so. And Spain come down here, so. Right? And then come conquer all of this. Matter of fact, what are you, so? What are Caribbean down here, so? Then claim to then conquer. All right. England. All right? United Kingdom or England, whatever. Basically, England and Ireland, they were forces at one point. They basically combined forces at one point. But anyways, we're not going to talk about this. Look on the UK. The UK is even smaller than France, than Spain. Right? When we go over here, so, listen, man. Tell me if none of this makes sense. The only sense this would make is on paper. None of this would make sense in real time when we talk about people, when we talk about geography, when we talk about territory. All right, even if we say 350 were the amount of whites that entered, that is still a ridiculous number. The reason being, the population cannot increase this much if they were dying from tropical diseases and all kind of other things when they come across these lands. They were not surviving. At one point, half of their population were gone to disease and, all kind of things that they don't know what they're contracting. They don't know what is the ailment. They don't know anything. And even so, you would need to have a fully developed society to be increasing your population. And even if you increase your population that much, in 10 years, there is no way to do this. Absolutely not. Even if the woman them breed every year, them now have twins and triplets, all of them, like, come on. So when we start looking at these numbers now, right? 26,000, right? This is literally doubling, almost doubling in 10 years again. You see? 1640 to 1650, from 26,000 to 50,000. Then you add 25,000 again, you come down here. So then they keep on adding so much to these numbers, just changing some things. You really have to wonder, how much of these accounts are actually accurate? Because from the beginning, it don't make no sense. When people move from one place to the next, the first thing you're looking to do is to settle in. You're looking to build housing, you're looking to survive, you're looking to put things together to start some kind of stability. You are not there to start increasing population right away. And even if you did, remember, 350 is not women. You would literally, a matter of fact, more men came over than women, because it was more about working, it was more about exploitation. So this was nowhere close to getting to a number where you can get to 2,000 people in 10 years. Absolutely no way. And even the ships, there weren't so many ships bringing people across, to do anything. And just like we talked about several lives ago, when we look at the records, they already came over when much of the coastlines, both in the Caribbean and in America, the coastlines were already developed. There were already buildings there. There was already a booming population. People already had their own governments. People already were there thriving and not have to worry about anything. The only thing they really brought with them is the idea of this parliamentarian style government that answers to the crown. That is really what they brought. They couldn't bring any food because they didn't have any. They were literally looking for new places, for new food, new things that they can possibly, keep their population from dying off. So anyways, when we look at these accounts, you have to now wonder if the same lies inflicted the records of Jamaica. Because there is absolutely no way that you had 60,000 people. Let's say we're going to go with this official number, not the 3,000. That is also verified over here. So let's see where this comes from. Jamaican History Archive, right? Let us see where this takes us. So that is from Discover Jamaica. And the other one is from, the same link. The same link. So this is not necessarily a historical source. So we can't really use that, right? But this comes from the book Black History of Jamaica. Sorry, C.V. Black is the author. And the work is History of Jamaica. And this was published in London, Collins, 1975, right? So apparently this is the source of where that information came from. Now, even if we took this into consideration, say it was an estimated 60,000 Amerindian people, meaning the natives, right? And America at the time, let's see, and this is what? 1494, 60,000. When we look at the American side, this is much later, and they are saying it was 350 for the population. Something is not right. Something is absolutely not right. There is no way. Look how big America is. There is no way. And as a matter of fact, it is being claimed that the people in the Caribbean actually came from some part of the American continent. So either a part of North America or a part of South America somewhere. Because as you can see, the land mass is connected. North America and South America is connected by land, right? So more than likely, these islands here, so people from somewhere off of these two big pieces of land just decide, say, you know something? I don't want to have nothing to do with them people, you know, pan the land mass, you know. I could go over here and just do it one thing, right? Start with own government, have our own like a tribe, just separate ourselves from what go on pan the land over here, so. Right? So if that is the case, there is no way you only had 350 people or 360 people. What you say? 350 people in the entire America. And even so, anyways, don't want to beat a dead horse. It just don't make any sense. The history that they have provided us, if we actually sit down and look on it, none of it makes any sense whatsoever. It only makes sense on paper. Just as a record, just for put on say something they did it. Exactly how would they count the people on the continent? They couldn't even go across America in the first place. They hardly could come on ships. The little raggedy ship would then come over and come look and see what go on. And just because them see the people were unarmed, that is why much of this even go on. Because obviously, if the people were armed, they wouldn't even try anything. Like a matter of fact, they wouldn't even go back to tell no story. It would have just been thought of that they just perished, right? So when we look at the election data, that is exactly what comes to mind. I don't think in any constituency or in any location where there was public voting, I don't think these numbers are correct at all. I think these numbers need to be verified by video footage. It needs to be verified by live digital voting. It needs to be substantiated other than just putting numbers on a piece of paper and say, yeah man, at this we did have. At this we count in another location. Yeah. Absolutely not. In this day and age, this is not something we should accept. Absolutely not. Technology is too far ahead for us to be looking at numbers and saying, oh, okay, all right. No. If our tax dollars are going to go to work, we need better transparency than that. Right? Now, let us segue from that. Right? There was a post earlier by an attorney that said, or who said, that customs can take away any amount of money where you have and hold it if you can't account for it. If you say you got it in this way and it is not being used for criminal purposes. Right? And you know, I'm not going to say I'm surprised. But when we look at the legislation, the only requirement we have as people traveling with cash, whether from a Caribbean country, the US or the UK, the only requirement we have is a reporting requirement, which you technically do not need this form. This is a POCA form, Proceeds of Crime Act form, where they say you're supposed to fill this out and basically let the government know the source of funds and what you intend to use the funds for, right? But again, at the very top of the form, it specifically tells you only if you are exceeding 10,000 US dollars. Only if you are exceeding 10,000 US dollars or its equivalent, right? So if you're not bringing so much money, you don't need to fill out this form. I mean, who brings around that much cash anyways? So this is the Proceeds of Crime Act, Section 101, right? Section 101(2) states, a person who transports or causes the transportation of cash into or out of Jamaica exceeding $10,000 in United States currency or its equivalent in any other currency or such other amount as may be prescribed shall, in such form and manner as may be prescribed by the minister by order and before the transportation takes place, report to the designated authority the fact and the amount being transported. Right? So you see them give you the ceiling, you know. If it exceeds $10,000, this is what you do. You put on the form or you report the fact and the amount being transported, the particulars about the carrier. So if you are carrying it, you have to basically tell them who you are, the source of the funds, basically where you get it from, and the purpose for which the funds are being transported. A person who fails to make a report are required by subsection typo this so. Required by subsection 2 commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction before a magistrate, a resident magistrate, to a fine not exceeding $10,000. I see the agents are back. All right. So if you do travel with the funds, it says if you are convicted, you see it say? You are liable on summary conviction. So you have to be brought to a court and a resident magistrate have to look into the matter. And if they claim say you're guilty, then the fine should not exceed $10,000. So that means that if you are travel with $15,000 and then claim say you never declared it properly, they can only charge you a fine of 10,000 Jamaican dollars as a result of that non-compliance. Or, see it say, or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 months, or to both such fine and imprisonment. Right? So, they can't just take away your money. Not according to the law. And when you are entering the country anyways, there is a form that you have to fill out, right? I think it's enterjamaica.gov.jm. You have to fill out that form and it actually asks you if you're traveling with any funds and you have to fill that out. So that would actually satisfy that requirement as well. It doesn't have to be this specific form because this form was reduced to that form that was required when you're traveling. So if you do have over this amount, the police have no business confiscating it. Customs have no business confiscating it. What is supposed to happen is they are supposed to summon you to court. They either take your passport, take your driver's license or whatever, and they allow you to go to court to get the matter resolved. Customs is not an enforcement agency. They are a regulatory agency. The police cannot just imprison you just like that. All of the orders that the police use for execution of an order should come from the court. If they imprison you before you go in front of a judge, that is a violation of this article here. It is a violation of the Constabulary Force Act. It is a violation of the Bail Act. So many different acts of parliament that are violated when you get locked up first before a judge makes a decision. You see it say? Before a resident magistrate, which is basically a parish court judge. Exactly, due process. If you end up in a situation where they just lock you up and hold on for your money, this is why we tell you to come to class. You need to learn how to file your own lawsuits. Say, let us talk about this. If half of the population of Jamaica knew how to file a lawsuit and how to properly craft their claims, much of what we're experiencing, them something would have gone out the window. We would not have these, much of these problems we're having is because nobody knows how to sue. You're basically passing on that responsibility to an attorney. And when that comes into the picture, most people don't want to so-called waste their money because it is not guaranteed you're going to get any money back, right? And the other barrier of entry is that, you have to craft your own documents and you have to pay the filing fees, which the filing fees are not necessarily excessive. But again, people are afraid of losing the money and they're afraid of embarrassment. So why don't we all learn together? Why don't we look into the law, learn, and craft templates so that anybody who wants to do their own thing, they can go ahead and do that. You can actually get due process of law. So I would say come to class. For those who are wondering, what do we mean when we say come to class? It means on voiceofjamaica.com, in the menu, there is a link called signatories. If you sign up to become a signatory, you will have access to the rest of the website where we have class. You see, in the menu, it's a class. Yeah, you can actually come to class. You can learn more things about the law and what you can actually do. So under signatories, you have a form that you can fill out if you so choose and you want to have access to class. All right. So when we talk about the Proceeds of Crime Act and customs confiscating your cash, the police taking your cash, talking about, oh, we don't know where this money come from, we don't know this, we don't know that. That is not a valid reason. It has to be in relation to... Let me show you something. Because all of this has to be in relation to some crime the police already see and investigate. Okay? Let me show you something. This is the Proceeds of Crime Act. This is the top part, right? Let me show you what exactly this legislation is about. All right, let's go to section 1. Where is it? All right. So here's where it starts. Section 2, or paragraph 2. A gift, whether made before or after the 30th day of May 2007, is tainted if, where a court has decided that the defendant has a criminal lifestyle. Is that what it says? Where a court has decided that the defendant has a criminal lifestyle. It was made by the defendant at any time after the first day of blah, blah, blah. So you see what it says? A court. All right. B, where a court has decided that the defendant does not have a criminal lifestyle. You see how many times I tell you no? It is only the court that can determine who a criminal is. Due process of law is paramount to any duty or power that is given to the police or customs. 3, for the purposes of subsection 2, an offense which is a continuing offense is committed on the first occasion when it is found to be committed. Who decides when an offense is committed? Is it the police or the court? It is the court. B, the defendant's particular criminal conduct. Who decides who is a criminal? The court. It is after conviction. After conviction that we have the determination of who a criminal is. 4, where the defendant. How do you become a defendant? Whenever there is court action, something going on in the court, that is when you actually become a defendant. Listen, this thing goes on and on and on and on. Everything in here deals with the court and references to the court, references to the resident magistrate. None of it talks about the police going out there and taking anything. For the purpose of the exercise of any function of this act, where any sum of money is expressed in a currency other than Jamaican dollars, the sum shall be taken to be the Jamaican dollar equivalent calculated in accordance with the selling rate of exchange as determined by the Bank of Jamaica, blah, blah, blah. In this act, it's an asset recovery agency. In this act, the asset recovery agency means the financial investigation division of the Ministry of Finance and Planning. Any other entity so designated by the minister by order. The chief technical director, blah, blah, blah. Right? So this is talking about the enforcement agency, right? Which is the FID. Forfeiture orders and pecuniary penalty orders. Subject to subsection 9, the court shall, upon the application of the agency or the Director of Public Prosecutions Act, in accordance, Director of Public Prosecutions, act in accordance with subsection 2 if the court is satisfied that the defendant is convicted of any offense in proceedings before the court or committed to the court pursuant to section 52 of the committal from magistrate court with a view to making forfeiture order or pecuniary penalty order. The court so all of this entire legislation is focused around the court, how the court deals with an accusation by a police officer or a customs officer or the FID. The police themselves cannot activate poker. Let me say that again. The police cannot activate poker on its own because proceeds of crime requires information. It requires investigation. It requires the knowing that someone is involved in something, not just you looking at someone and determining that, oh, it don't look like say the money won't have legit. Anyways, we're not going to beat a dead horse. All right? You get the point. Poker cannot be invoked by the police. Even if they see a sum of money in your possession, what they need to do, they need to contact the enforcement agency to take action, which is the FID. Where is it? The FID is an asset recovery agency, right? The Financial Investigation Division of the Ministry of Finance and Planning, FID. Okay? All right. So, that being said, we're going to switch gears again. And now we're going to talk about constitutional drafting for a second. So for those who don't know, you go to voiceofjamaica.com, you click on the first post, which says New Constitution, and here we have our constitutional draft in PDF form. All right. This is your constitutional draft. For those who are new here, the spelling of Jamaica is not incorrect. It is purposeful. The current spelling that you're used to is copywritten brand. It is a copyright. It is a brand. The land of wood and water is the slogan of the brand. I know enough people are going to say, where you get that from? Let us go to this website. Translate.google.com. Many of us already know this, but let us do this in real time for those who are new, who want to know what Jamaica means. Jamaica means Jamaica, meaning it is an artificial word. It does not have a root meaning. RY say they can take the money and give it back to you after investigation in the time the money is I guess investigated. RY, that is not true. They are not supposed to take the money. They're supposed to hold it and take you forthwith to a magistrate. They're not supposed to confiscate it. They're supposed to hold it and take you right away to a magistrate. A matter of fact, they're not even supposed to hold it. They're supposed to contact the FID, and the FID would do the investigation based on a court order. Confiscating it is now what would be considered unlawful taking. But anyways, we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that. Jamaica does not have a meaning. Let me show you something. HOLA, right, is Spanish for hello. So here we have it translated, right? Let us type Jamaica again. Jamaica doesn't have a meaning. It doesn't have a translation, right? Let us type in Jamayka. Many people like to use this term to say it was the name before Jamaica come into play. That is also incorrect. Jamayka means the bird. That has nothing to do with Jamaica, as we think it means, right? And it doesn't matter what colonial thing you come up with. None of these names translate into anything useful, nor in relation to what we now know to be Jamaica. Hence, why, when we are drafting this constitution, we are not going to infringe on the current brand name. We are using our own spelling of the name Jamaica. All right. Of course, this is our Declaration of Independence. Again, everyone has access to this. Go to voiceofjamaica.com, click on New Constitution, and you can access this as well. So that's the Declaration of Independence. You can read that on your own time. We're not going to go over that today. Here we have the table of contents of the Constitution. So if you are interested in a particular section, or if you want to go through the whole thing, you actually have access to the entire document. You also have the Word version of the document, right? Our latest sections that were added are these last three sections, which is religious organizations, animal welfare, pet ownership and wildlife protection, and intellectual property, creative works, and inventions, right? The page numbers should now match. We did not create the links yet where you can just click on a title and go to that section. That is coming up a little bit later after we are done editing the draft. We have just about everything in the draft right now. We just have some refinements that are going to be made over the next week or two to call it a complete draft. Then it is going to be represented to the people for a final input gathering to complete stage 1 and move on to stage 2. All right. So much of the various sections were actually updated. Can't go through every single thing. As you can see, the document has grown into a formidable reading culmination. So we now have 349 pages in this document, and each article represents a specific body of law. Again, as we've said before, the Constitution should be the single body of law. We should not have 50 acts of parliament or any of that, right? When it comes to learning about the law and what the law is supposed to be, right? Labor and workplace, intellectual property, dispute resolution, timeliness. All right, let us go down further. All right, so here we have an interesting section that I went over briefly before, but it has been expanded since the last time we looked at it, right? So here we have enumeration of crimes. You know, in our current system of law, we don't have such a thing where people actually have some body of law where they can look at and say, okay, this is what this kind of crime means. That is what that kind of crime means. You have to Google it, or you have to look in a legal dictionary, or you have to look at some other third-party source. So here we have the enumeration of various different types of crime. So no one can claim ignorance and say, well, me never know say that. Me never know say that amount to that. Me never know say that is a crime. Almost everything is listed here. And I say almost because, again, we don't want to be so extensive where a plain definition would suffice. And that is why we have so many acts of parliament. If something is a crime, it is a crime. We don't need to have a micro definition for every single thing. So for example, here, the general rule, a person commits a crime where an act is performed and the act causes harm, risk of harm, or violates a clear prohibition or violation of law. No act shall be criminal unless defined in this article. So if it is not written in here and it does not fall into any category that we have defined, then it cannot be a crime. It's that simple. We are not going to leave it up to any institution to determine whether or not something is a crime. It is just, if a determination is going to be made, it is going to be made based on what is in the Constitution. Nothing else, right? Take away the discretionary opinions of those who are interpreting the law, right? So here we have crimes against person. And you can see that's very extensive. We have crimes against property, have crimes against public order. We have crimes against justice, crimes against public servants, crimes against public officials, and public officials and public servants are, distinguished in their duties. We have crimes against administrators. Sorry, crimes by administrators. Let me see. Oh, sorry. These are by, not against. Crimes by public servants, crimes by public officials, crimes by administrators, economic crimes, road and transport crimes, customs and border crimes, intelligence and surveillance crimes, etc., etc. So all of these different sections basically enumerate the general law of the land. So no one can claim ignorance. It is clear. It is written in plain language, so you don't need to know legalese or legal language. As a matter of fact, legalese is banned in this constitution. Nothing should be so obfuscated or written in such a language that people are confused about what it means, right? And of course, here we have our penalties and punishment. This part is going to be a little bit more expanded, right? And it is always interesting when we go over this section. We are now bringing back the hanging in the town square, right? If we want to get rid of crime, let us make it across the board. Let us actually get rid of crime. Let us get rid of those who are tainting our society and just causing havoc, right? So hanging would return. Lifetime servitude, where you basically work for the rest of your life in a productive way in society. Locking up people in a cell or locking up people, just into confinement, doing nothing. They are bored all day. They don't have anything to do. They might get basic, food and whatever else, unsanitary conditions and all that. That goes out the window. That goes out the window. If for whatever reason you get lifetime servitude, or you just get restricted public service for whatever period of time, you would just go out there, you would work in society like a normal individual. Of course, you are restricted, in your movement, but you work, you get food, and you get a place to sleep. Right? That's it. And that is a more productive way of inclusion within society to work off your debt to society rather than, having people go into a jail cell for no reason, sitting there. Right? And of course, we have those other elements where, either, you get executed or you have other punishment depending on the severity of your crimes. Right? Now, this is also another interesting one. Civil defense, public readiness, and national resilience. Right? Again, much of the things that happen in our society is because we are an unarmed nation. That makes us afraid. We become a target. So if we're going to become a proud and ready people in case of any kind of emergency, we have to be trained. We have to know what to do in emergencies. We have to be able to defend our families first. If we can't defend our family and we are depending on the government and governmental bodies to protect us at all times, then that is where we become victims, right? So everybody would have the chance at civil training, self-defense, owning a firearm, etc., 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 without the hurdles, without all of these red tape and hoops and all these multitude of requirements that you have to follow. Obviously, there are going to be regulations to make sure that people of unsound mind or criminals that are convicted don't have access to such weapons. But if you are an upstanding member of society, you have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to be armed. You have the right to have the skill of self-defense at all times, right? So defensive training and civil defense, including mental training, is something that would be instituted for all natives of the island, right? And then you have optional advanced training for those who want, to have that additional knowledge about, properly carrying out a duty or properly carrying out effective defense, emergency leadership, and so forth, right? So that advanced training is there. And again, you provide limited use, where it can only be used for self-defense. It cannot be used to compel military service. Can't assign individuals to combat roles and can't justify surveillance or control of the population, right? Protection against internal use. The existence of a trained population shall serve as a safeguard against unlawful use of force by state actors, abuse of authority by enforcement bodies. No authority shall restrict lawful self-defense. So, for example, if we have a case where we have an arm of the government becomes a rogue, we the people would not be afraid to go and just dismantle it. You get it? If we the people maintain control over the circumstances, a simple gathering and going and taking care of the issue, it's done, it's quashed. And then the people reinstitute what they feel is necessary to correct the issue right away. We should not be waiting months for justice of any kind. If we see any kind of unlawful behavior by any state agent or a group of state agents, we have the right and we should have the power to make changes immediately once it is properly identified and we see that it is a problem for our society, right? So again, if we are trained and we are armed, then we don't have these problems. We don't. Okay? Duty of the state. The state shall ensure safe and effective training, equal access to all persons, protection from coercion or misuse, preservation of individual autonomy. Right? So here we have self-defense, arms, and community protection. Again, allowing all families to own protection for their family and their property. And also for constitutional order. How can we defend our constitution if we are unarmed? This is one of the reasons why people are afraid to talk, people are afraid to act, and people are afraid to do anything that basically isolate them to be identified. If we were an armed nation, we would have no problem gathering and creating solutions. Right now, we are basically sitting ducks. And that has to change if we actually want positive change, where our society start growing without the fear of criminals or bad actors. We need to be armed. We need to be a people who are protected and can defend ourselves or defend our constitution or defend our family or defend the nation. Right now, if we are invaded, we do not have a real army to defend ourselves. Do we really? How big is our army? Now think about this. If everyone is armed, do we really need a big army? No. If everyone know how to use a firearm and everyone know how to do this self-defense, any kind of invasion, I think we would be able to manage pretty well. All right? So that would cover protection and being an armed populace. Prohibition and factionalization. So again, we cannot allow semi-governmental groups to be created without the people's authority. So this is a prohibition on factionalization, meaning, we have an arm of government and then they are creating a department or a group within or under that department. That is ridiculous. If we are going to create government structures to do specific duties, they will have no delegatory authority to create other institutions or factionalization, right? They can create parallel authority. All right, so we cover a whole lot of things that are not currently instituted in our current constitution. We currently don't have much defense for the people. Much of what we have in the constitution is governmental control. And even so, governmental control is pretty much unlimited because it does not have any penalties listed. All penalties basically go through the courts. And the people don't have a say. The people don't have any control over what the court does. Right? All our army and security forces know what to do. But exactly. No, I am not saying that all of them do that, But, we have seen it. We have seen the videos. We have seen, we have heard the audios. We have seen the news reports. It cannot stand if we're going to have an actual respectable nation. Right? Here we would create an Office of Public Prosecution, right? Completely revamped. When they have a referral, they have no discretion on whether or not they're going to prosecute, right? They would have no discretion. Once a report is tabled, they must begin work, right? We would have a completely separate investigatory agency. Once that agency is done with their investigation and they submit it to the Office of Public Prosecution, work begins. That's it. Same thing with the police, right? The entire system, how it is structured now, would change. We would bring confidence back to the people. If the police is supposed to make an arrest under this constitution, they cannot lock up anybody. They have to bring that individual in front of a magistrate, in front of a judge, before any kind of confinement can happen. If we have that, we create something unique. The judge and the police would bear the burden if someone is locked up unlawfully. So if that is the case, that would mean that if someone is truly locked up, it is highly unlikely that that person does not need to be locked up. So that means that it would be justified, because if two people are making that determination, the judge and the officer or the police is making the determination to say, well, I feel that this is a valid situation where I need to arrest you, and then that individual is brought in front of a judge via remote session, like a video call, and the judge determines that, yes, based on the evidence and the circumstances presented, this individual needs to be confined to a cell until he's brought before the court, then more than likely, that individual needs to be confined, right? But if later on it is found that the individual was innocent, then both the judge and the police face malicious prosecution. So you have to have a balance of things, right? You have to have a balance. So if we can prosecute our judges and our police for wrongful behavior, then the system now becomes a balanced scale. No longer would anyone have immunity, right? So this is why a constitutional draft is necessary to correct the record, right? And we talk about the national record system, recognition of tribal and indigenous and cultural communities, right? Where people get to be left alone, people get to be recognized, and nobody no running upon you unnecessarily. Fair market, local industry, and restricted business activity. Again, if we're going to build a nation, we need to have things that are restricted only to Jamaicans, only to Jamaica. We cannot have foreign corporations coming in doing things that local people can do, right? We had updated the housing section. Let me see what section is housing. Housing is 111. Let's go back up to 111. 65, 91. Record keeping, public surveillance and documentation. 104, that's 111. Housing, community and social welfare. Now this is a section that was updated. All right. Now, with housing, like we talked about before, everyone should have housing. Every native should be entitled to housing. You see, like how we have housing trust now, and all housing trust does is allow you to get a loan. It is kind of ridiculous. It better if the whole we throw one partner, even those who don't need it, right? All of us throw into a fund, and one by one, we build houses. So as the houses are built, as the houses are situated, you still keep throwing, right? You still keep participating in the fund. So therefore, it is always a benefit. So those who benefit already, you continue so that others can benefit from it as well. If people want to donate to the fund, they should have the ability to do that. What if you win the lotto, or what if you have, more than enough, and you want to actually contribute to someone else having a home, someone else having a piece of land, right? You should be able to do that without government interference. And again, public transparency. How can we have a system and we say, yes, this is a fair and just economy, when we cannot see what is happening? We cannot see the financials. We cannot see the documentation. This is why we have to eradicate that thinking. Everything should be transparent. Every single thing in the public should be transparent. Even if we have let's say we have a yearly budget of 10 billion US dollar. Sorry, 10 billion Jamaican dollars. Right? Let's say we have a budget of 10 billion Jamaican dollars, but we are actually making 30 billion, just word speaking. So we need 10 for the budget of all the services and things going on in society, but we are making 3 times the amount or 10 times the amount, right? Do we still need to be collecting income taxes? Do we still need to be doing certain things? No, absolutely not. If we want to invest, we find ways to invest. But we don't need to be constantly collecting taxes from people if we have a surplus. DJ Kentucky, lawful, welcome. So when we talk about housing, right, a basic tenet of modern living, we shouldn't have to think about it. Natives of the island, if you're a born Jamaican or your parents are Jamaican and you live in Jamaica, you should have access to a house. If you don't want to have access to a house, you want to live in, an apartment location, you should have access to that as well. We should not be paying rent. We should not be paying mortgage as natives. We should not be paying to live. Let me say that again. As natives, we should not be paying to live. We should not be paying for water. The food is grown out of the ground free of cost. Now, that being said, yes, the ground has to be cultivated. People have to put in work to take out the pests and all these different things. But beyond that, it is actually ludicrous that we actually charge people to live. Visitors are different. Tourism is actually what is keeping Jamaica high above the water. Native Wealth Fund instead of Consolidated Fund. Yeah, we can change the name. We can change the name to, something that makes sense. But when we talk about the dignity of people, the stability of families and communities, and the protection of vulnerable persons, right? Right now, the government no business about nobody. Especially the elderly. If you can't participate in society, they're no business with you. If you can't pay taxes, you can't pay business tax, you can't pay a licensing fee, you can't pay that, you can't pay this, you can't. It is all about paying. If you can't pay, what benefit do you get from the government? We need to stop saying Jamaica needs to do this, Jamaica needs that, no. The people require this. The people would like to have that. The people are not Jamaica. So when we're talking, we have to talk in terms of the natives, the people, the visitors. Be specific. We can't just say Jamaica. When we say Jamaica, Jamaica is not the people. Jamaica is either a corporate name or a geographic location. And it is very seldom you hear any mention of the people of Jamaica. So housing is very basic. We should not have anyone with unsafe housing, right? People living in terrible conditions. You know, some of them in a board house with a couple sheets of zinc, right? We need to get rid of that. We are past that as a society. We are way past that. We have so much native talent that cannot be explored because the government say what? You need a license, you need a location, you need to buy a piece of land, or you need to rent a piece of land, you need to pay that fee, you need to adhere to this regulation, you need to do this, you need to do that. Again, not saying we don't need any rules, but we have to put in place things that protect our natives, things that allow us to grow, things that allow us to be productive as a nation, right? That is what we need to put in place. Let us get rid of some. Yeah. Community-based living, right? Right now, we don't really have community-based living. What we have is people living in areas. Let me say that again. We currently don't really have communities. We have people living in designated areas. And that is a real problem. How can we say we have communities when we don't support each other? We don't do anything as a group. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there anyone who lives in a location where everyone participates or most people participate to a common good for that community? There's some need for the end of the frame. TikTok just give me an alert. Are there any communities out there? Are there any places where people actually come together and do something for the good of everyone? And I'm not talking Labor Day. Let us take that out of the picture. We're not talking Labor Day. Is anyone aware of a community that constantly work for the benefit of everyone? Creating goals, creating situations where you can say, yeah man, we have these aspirations, we have these goals, we are getting donations, we are going to create something historic. I think there should be a museum in every parish. That's what I think. And what we should have in those museums, we know people have all kind of old things. We call them old. Visitors call them interesting artifacts. Right. I mean, we'd probably call it something else, right? Development Day, right? Where instead of we have this 5-day work week, we would just designate one day out of the, or designate the whole week for that matter. You know, where people can donate their time. People can become a productive member of society where they are not just looking out for themselves or a corporation, right? All of these different little things are what people used to do, you know. This is not new. These ideas are not new. When me grow up, I me talk to my father. I me say, what happened to the little bank we used to do around the road? And literally, that bank, when I was about 6 years old, I remember that bank functioning. and the building is still there right now. I mean, it closed down a long time, but you actually used to have community banks. That kind of shocked me in a way, because usually you have a bank in the central location, of a town in today's day. But back then, people actually used to have local community banks. People used to have community centers where one member of a family, one member of each family would make sure that they are at the community center meetings, either every week, every other week, or every month, whatever the agenda was. And they would talk about their problems. Some people would take on duties. You would have people who donate things. People would give ideas. People would give solutions. People would offer their vehicles, or whatever it may be. Everybody participate, because what? Everybody benefits. Everybody benefits from participation. That is why you have corporations. The corporations literally stole our idea of community building and take out the brightest minds in our communities, and they build corporations. That is what is happening. So we are now full circle. So now what can better us really is to take back our attention, take back our creative ability and power, and put it back into our communities. Can put it back into our nation. When we talk about public effort, where we can rebuild our roads, we can rebuild our houses, we can build new institutions, we can do so many different things if we cooperate, if we do things together, if we have national goals, if we have parish goals, if we have community goals. We can do a lot. As a matter of fact, what people consider to be luxury, we can actually live as a normal life. The tourists then come to Jamaica and then say, where we vacation, you live. And them can't understand why many Jamaicans are unhappy. Right? It's just like back in the day when time, the queen would look at society and I wonder why they can't eat cake. Right? They don't have no concept of reality when it comes to Jamaica. Their idea of vacation and seeing people hustling and smiling and whatever, them feel like say, January Star, them people are rich. Them people here, them have everything we would want, but we can't even move here because it is so expensive. But the natives don't feel that way, right? Many natives are not going to say that they are rich or that they have it all, right? They have access to all of this stuff. Excuse me. But for somebody visiting, that is the perception. You actually have it all, and they are jealous. Then come back every single year, sometimes multiple times a year, they visit the island just to experience Jamaica. But for the natives, you're not making enough. You can't get to do much of what you want to do. You just have to live as you would say, a very basic life. And you can hardly experience anything extraordinary. Sometimes you want to go to the beach. But you say, boy, any of me go to the beach, I have to spend money. Right? So you just stay in your yard. Or you find something to do. Right? You want to have one weekend vacation. You say, at least one vacation for my birthday, right? 2 days or 3 nights or something like that. You can't do it. Because in order to do that, you have to save up so much money to go to a location. You might not like the food, whatever excuse you come up with, right? But it is not a personal excuse, it is a societal excuse. The locals can't afford to do much of these things. Now, if we put a constitution in play, would we really disadvantage ourselves and not be able to take part in all the things that we were barred from, basically, since birth? No. Absolutely not. especially if we have a surplus. If we have a surplus in budget, right? And we are the ones who are governing the government. We are keeping the government in check by public vote. We can decide what to do with the excess funds. Of course, we don't want to spend everything, but if we can afford to send everybody over a certain age, right? Let's say everybody over 35. When your birthday come, a matter of fact, that is a good idea. Why don't we have birthday celebrations in groups, right? Everybody go, Rio, or everybody go one of these fancy hotels just for your birthday. Once a year, every year, your birthday paid for. Imagine that. We, as a people, would have more purpose. We would have more to look forward to. It don't matter who you are, right? You can come together and you can enjoy something from the economy. Well, you don't have to pay for. You don't have to register and go through all of these paperwork and bureaucratical nonsense. You just actually enjoy something from your country. You know, it's not funny, but I have seen and heard from people who said they never left them parish. They have never left their parish. There are people who just go a town and go back at their yard. They never actually go in and nowhere, go actually stay or actually enjoy one different parish or no. Just straight, if I'm a town then go, then come back at their yard. Some other people, if I'm a mobile then go back at their yard. That is sad. It's not that they don't want to, but they don't have the avenue, they don't know nobody, or they can't afford it. As a nation, and somebody who is a native to the island, we should be able to experience some of these things. I say we have to give everybody everything, right? But at least give people the opportunity to be able to enjoy the place where they are at. And again, we can have other social programs. We can have so many other things that would benefit society as a whole. But we first need transparency. That is paramount above everything else. We need to know what we have so that we can plan and do better and, continue to build as a nation. But other than that, this is why we have constitutional drafting, right? To include society, to include the people that actually make society function. That is why we are drafting this. Because as much as we would like to think that maybe we should fight the system. Good night, Nikki. Lawful, welcome. Mr. Dunn, Lawful, welcome. As much as some of us feel like it is probably better to fight the system, it is probably better if we do this, if we petition, if we do this and that. It is not the first time those ideas have come about. And what have been the result? You see, when you are in a box, while you are in the box, if you're having trouble in the box, you have to go to where to get a resolution. You have to go to whoever is controlling the box. And that is our current situation. Right? We are in a box and someone is controlling the box, or a group is controlling the box. Yes, Nikki, thank you. Lawful. So when we have problems and we keep complaining, we keep presenting solutions to those who are supposed to be looking out for our best interests, and we're not getting the feedback that we want, we're not getting the solutions that we want. And again, the solutions that we're asking for are not far-fetched. It's not. For example, did you know that the talks of body cam for police has been there from 2016? Beckford, lawful, evening. Did you know that the talks about body cam has been there since 2016? As a matter of fact, the United States donated 400 cameras to Jamaica. You know what? Let me pull it up, because I don't want you to think that I'm just talking for talking's sake. So I'm going to pull it up so you can see for yourself. Where is, here we go. Let me see if I can pull up the news source. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. You know, I had the link up earlier, and I don't know why I didn't save it. I'm going to pull it up for you so you can see for yourself. And the talks have been the talks have been ongoing, just talking, and there were some deployments, but they were in a so-called pilot phase for a long time, right? All right, I think this one is the link of the news source. All right, here we go. So let us put this over here so we speak in context. So that's one news source. Here we have another one. This one is from JIS. So this is the official news source for the government. And here we have another one going back to 2014. So we're going to look at all of these sources so we can see exactly live what we're talking about. What was this? Oh, this was the population. All right. So here we go. So this is the Jamaica Observer, right? As we can see the date, August 24, 2016. What does it say? Police get first set of body cameras. Right? Am I reading correct? Or I'm gonna drop something in a comment. Let me see if I me alone I see this or I walk one. Una see this too, right? Right. So as you can see, you know, The picture actually shows one of the constables wearing a body camera, you know. No one not too happy about wearing it. Ah la la. So the agents can start report the live. No problem. We're not gonna stop. See the next one there wear it, you know. Dep on his shoulder, you know. Alright? Alright. See one the back of them I wear it. Alright. So here is what it says, as you can see on your screen. The partnership between the US Embassy and the JCF has done much to make the JCF a more professional organization and to help us demonstrate greater respect for human rights. I cannot help but underscore the remarkable stimulus that they provide for police accountability and police reform, as well as the conformity of suspects, Williams said at the launch of the project at the Office of the Commissioner of Police on Old Hope Roads in St. Andrew. He added, excuse me, he added that the body-worn cameras will serve as a neutral third eye, which will deter officers from reacting with excessive force and prompt suspects to cool down their aggressive actions. This is the news, you know. This is the news. This is not speculation. And again, this is from 2016, right? See it there again? 2016. All right. That's one. Here we have the Jamaica Information Service, or the JIS, right? And see what it say again? 2016. All right. Body cameras to be deployed to 6 police divisions. A total of 120 body cameras are to be deployed in 6 police divisions across Kingston and St. Andrew, with the aim of building a strong and effective police force. Again, they had these cameras for a long time. Okay? All right. This is the JFJ website. And this one is from 2020. All right, you can see JFJ, Jamaicans for Justice. During a press conference held on June 4th, 2020, Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson stated that the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, has been in the process of acquiring body cameras since last May. This was not the first time such an announcement has been made. In fact, in November 2019, Anderson declared that body-worn cameras would be deployed in the first quarter of the next year. It is now the end of the second quarter of 2020, past Anderson's stated timeline. And as Minister of National Security, Dr. Oris Chang, recently confirmed, the JCF is not currently using the technology. Remember, you know, in 2014, the page is freezing up. Let me see if I can close some of them something here. What was this? All right, we're going to close out them archive something here for now. We don't need that. We don't need that. All right. All right, there we go. All right. I wonder if we can block the ads on this thing. All right. So, again, I don't know why this page is freezing up all of a sudden. But anyways, we have from 2014, them actually deploy them. Then in 2019, it's our, 2016, right? Them actually deploy them to 6 divisions. And then what happened in 2020? They stopped using them. The security minister says the JCF is not currently using the technology. And now we are here 6 years later, 2026, and we're facing the same issue. Over 10 years where the US donated cameras, the JCF themselves says they have procured cameras. We hear people talking foolishness about storage of the footages. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. So, anyways, we're not here to talk about, shortcomings of the JCF or anything like that, right? But in the constitutional draft, right, when we talk about policing, we would remove administrative ability from the police. And everybody who interacts with the public in a law enforcement capacity would be required to wear cameras. There would be no option, right? No option. I mean, if you're doing good, if you're doing your job, there is no need to be afraid of cameras. Because cameras will capture the objective view, right? It is not what I say or what you say. Cameras just capture what happened. If we see what happened, then we can make a proper determination on whether or not something was intentional or it was necessary, right? It is not a matter of, you know what? Let's talk about this for a second. Some people say the cameras would intrude on the privacy of the officers. When you're there at work, there is no such thing as privacy. I'm going to say that again. When you're there at work, you know no privacy. That no exists. Unless you go to the bathroom. Privacy no exists for somebody who at work. Imagine you go to work and your boss say, alright, your computer needs to face that way, yeah. Or your boss say, move that something there. Make sure so the camera can see what you do. And you go tell the boss say, no man, I need my privacy around here, so. Let's see how that makes sense though, right? You can't expect privacy if you're there at work. If you're there in your house, you're there in your yard, it makes sense. But when you come at work, you can't come and talk about privacy. That don't make no farmer sense, whether it be public servant, whether it want to be employee, whether it want to be public official, it want to be a superintendent, none of them something there. No matter. Everybody wear a hat. You come at work, you wear one hat. You are not a constable in your yard, in your house. You're a constable when you come at work. And you are recorded as being on duty. Whether you have an oath of office or not, a proper one. But anyways, this has been, people just are hear about this now. People just are come round full circle. Them have discussions and do things at daytime where if recorded it would implicate them. Again, we not blame anyone, right? Whatever happened, it is in our current day and age in society, it is up to the courts, if the matter is brought before the court properly, to decide whether or not something bad happened or something good happened or nothing worth the court's time happened. That is the current situation we face. I am not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. What I am saying is, it not makes sense to me. It not makes sense to a lot of people. The people who are making the suggestions for the draft, it don't make sense to them, right? If we have the option of, all right, let us look at this. We're not asking for every single police to wear body cameras. Personally, me I focus on the draft, you know. This is just for conversational purposes. We don't really care about people who sit on one desk. We don't care about people who are going to buy lunch. We don't care about people who have meetings. You don't need a body cam for that. But you see, when you're going to stop somebody on the road, you see, when you're going to have a balaclava and a mask up your face, you see, when you're going to on special operations, you need it. Listen, somebody's life is not treated as something valuable. That is the point. If our lives are valuable, why is it not treated that way? Why doesn't it look that way? If we, as a people, say we don't feel safe, can you please do this differently? We have the technology. Why can't we do this? Why is it so difficult? You know, I was on Scrubs Live earlier, and there was a gentleman. He was a name-calling individual. And he said, the cameras, just 5 minutes of footage. What you say? Yeah, just 5 minutes of footage is like 1 gigabyte of data. And, you know, you would need so many data centers in order to keep all of this footage. And people don't understand that you might need legislation. You know, you're going to need to build out data centers. You're going to need people to review the footage. You're going to need people for this and that. I mean, I say. And the man talk and him talk and him talk and him let him words out. And I say, okay. So I say, question for you. Where are you getting this information from? He must say, I work in this field for 20 years and I can tell you this. I say, brother, where you get it from? You see, like how I can show you up on the screen? I am asking him, show me the source of this information. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull up one so you all can see what I'm talking about. These people, and I'm not going to call them the name that they are to be called. These people, they go around, and when they think that we, the public, don't understand what they must say, it sounds so technical to some people. You will say, okay, I saw it go. All right. All right. I saw it go then. I'm going to show you something. All right. This is a Motorola body-worn cameras. You notice this look like what them did I wear in the news story? Let us take a look again. Doesn't this body-worn camera look like this? Wow. Anyways, moving on. This is the V300 body-worn camera by Motorola. All right? Let us scroll down. This is the data sheet, right? Let us scroll down a little bit and let us zoom in where it talks about the video recording. So you can see for yourself, right? Storage capacity, 128 gigabytes equals to 23 hours of continuous video recording. So one little memory card, one 128 gigabyte memory card can record the entire day if the constable was working the entire day. And this is at 1080p, which again, it is debatable if we even need that level of video quality. 720p, Remember, these are body-worn cameras. These are close-range cameras. We're not trying to film things 50 or 100 yards down the road. These are close counter interactions. So even if we have 720p HD video, you would have 46 hours of continuous video recording capability with a 128 gigabyte storage.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Hey Siri, I'm not talk to you. So people, you see when time somebody come on the internet and then start talk, I love to do factual verifications. Because there is absolutely no way a body-worn camera would take up 1 gigabyte for 5 minutes of recording. And as a matter of fact, the body-worn cameras, they have an image sensor and motion sensor. I never go bother to speculate and tell you no explanation. See it right there, so. Pre-event options. This is something that can be configured in the camera. You can make it record before something starts. 15 seconds ahead, 30 seconds ahead, 45 minutes ahead, 1 minute ahead. It can have what you call a sensor recording. All right, Byron, I'm going to bring you up. So you can see what happened before any kind of action was taken. You see, say continuous background recording also available. All right? Then the man start talk about audio recording and this and that. People, just because you hear big technical words, that doesn't mean they're telling the truth. And I have shown this over and over again, where whenever you hear and see news reports and those kind of things, you can look it up for yourself and you can see that they're lying. Now, as far as a data center is concerned, we would only probably need 6 months of footage on any running basis. We would not need anyone to be sitting there reviewing the footage every single day the officer them go out. That is ridiculous. The point of video recording is so that we can go back to the archive in case we need it. That is the only point of video recording. If we don't need the video later on, it becomes garbage. It's just like a home video recording system. If we don't need the footage later, what happens? The video is overwritten. We don't keep it there indefinitely. And as a matter of fact, the only time someone would review any kind of footage or data is if it is requested, is if it is needed. We don't, come on, man, come on. How many people are going to sit when they come in from work and you have some kind of video recording system? Do you come home and sit there looking through the camera to see if nothing happened? Or do you actually, if you want to see if something happened, you just go and look at the motion data points if you are interested? Nobody now waste them time. I sit down, I look on foolish. I don't need to see somebody walk. I don't need to see one bird out the road. I don't need to see the officer is doing a good job. It is only for complaints. It is only for anything negative. That is the point of cameras. Right? You have some evidence of what happened. So, as you can see, this talk of body-worn cameras has been there for over 10 years. Over 10 years. There were cameras donated. A matter of fact, I think other countries try to donate as well. And anyway, we're not going to really get into all of that foolishness. The point here is, if we the people were handling these situations, if we the people were actually the court if we the people were making sure that justice is served, not for this something we are go through. We not go through. Jamaica is not a poor country. We go over this several times now. Jamaica, as a nation, I not talk about the political part of it. Jamaica, the people part of Jamaica, is not poor. The time is coming. Tick-tock. The time is coming, but we cannot say much just yet. The draft is almost complete. And when we, the people, put the draft in power, that is when things are going to really be serious. You see, we, the people, people don't understand what we, the people, mean. But soon you will get it. Soon you will get it. Don't be too distracted with what's going on. What we are doing here is a first. We, the people, are a first. Let me show you. You see, when we include a unanimous declaration of independence, right? When we talk about not only possibilities, but we talk about why we find it necessary to create a constitution. The difference with this and every other constitution out there. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for the reason why this is a first? I'll give you a little snippet. Why is this different from any other constitution out there? This constitution creates a truly sovereign nation. There is no nation in the Western Hemisphere that is truly sovereign. We have heard the term before, and there is an example nation, but I am not going to name the nation right now. But there is no Western nation that is truly sovereign. Let me tell you one little secret again. One little secret. We were tricked. Our forefathers and foremothers were tricked in 1962. Independence does not equal sovereignty. Independence has nothing to do with sovereignty. Independence comes from individual. It is the political term that defines something separate within a box. For example, when we have an individual, it is someone inside of a category. An individual man, an individual doctor, an individual XYZ. All right, John, I'm going to bring you up. So independence and individual is within a box. When we have sovereignty, It has nothing to do with being independent. Sovereignty means you are the sole authority. Independent means that you are your own authority under another authority. I know these things are churning through your mind, you know. I wonder, well, shit. Yeah, maybe so. Think about it. Jamaica is a part of a commonwealth. It's an independent nation, you know, within a commonwealth. I showed you that before, right? The commonwealth was created by what? The crown. The crown owns its creation, the commonwealth. So therefore, being independent in the commonwealth is no different from being colonized by the crown. It's just that you now think you are independent to roam and do whatever. But that is not the case. The case is that you are still in a, you may be in a bigger box, but it is still a box controlled by another entity. Now, with a constitution like this, there is no higher power. This is why it is the first constitution in the Western Hemisphere. All the other nations who have drafted constitutions, none of them are really sovereign. They might claim sovereignty, but they are not truly sovereign. They are still tied to some colonial structure. Why? Because the people themselves have never created the constitution. So there are always provisions in there to bring you back full circle. You basically have one piece of rope, then just give some more length to go out further. Just enough so you feel like, yeah man, me free you know, me not really have no ties. But the rope is still there. And it is activated in different parts of, if you look at any of the other constitutions, you can go and see. There are colonial elements that keep those nations in check, keep you in a shackle in a box so that you cannot elevate beyond a certain point. You can't do certain things. Like what PJ want to do with Parliament. Yeah, there was, making changes within a colonial system. Are you saying that we are liberated or in check? We who? We have to be specific in law, Talking about the people have never been free. People are not described in any body of law. When we talk about the government is always in check. Always. Is either the government is in check by the people or the government is in check by the crown. Let's have lawful. Welcome. So we have to learn these things gradually. As a Jamaican, we are not liberated. There is no such thing as a liberated Jamaican. You cannot be liberated when you have colonial rule. Carson, lawful, welcome. Yeah, your audio low. Yeah, man. All right. Austin, lawful, greetings. Yeah, a system within a system is never thought of as a good insight. You see, it comes down to what we see and what we comprehend. What we see and what we comprehend are two different things, right? What we see is often what is told to us in Jamaica. We don't typically go out there searching for these documents to go read. Leroy, Lawful, welcome. Right? We don't go out there searching for these things. Much of the things that I unveil on this platform, people have never seen it before. And it is public. I am not showing you anything secret. Right? All of the things I show you is something that you can go and see for yourself. Right? So it is just that people were not aware of the information being out there. Yeah, Carson. No, sir. It sounds like your earphone is on, but you're not close to your earphone. Check your Bluetooth. Check if your Bluetooth is on. Maybe you're connected to something. Yeah, I don't have any control of the audio from this side. Father Rice, Lawful, greetings. QBE. Interesting. So when we have these colonial legislations, these colonial documents, and these colonial processes, excuse me, there exists a certain level of confusion, meaning nothing is clear. Everything that is to be done is broken up extensively, right? For example, when we talk about a law, we are not talking about something that is static, something that everyone can comprehend and something everyone can follow. A law nowadays is basically passed every single year. Every single year, sometime every 6 months, we have a new law. We have an amendment. We have a change. We have this, we have that. So in a colonial system, the law is ever changing. It is never in one place where you can say, okay, everyone can learn what the law is, and okay, good. Now we are all on the same page. No. The law is only an institution. It has become commercialized. It has become an institution of profit. It may not well, either way you take it, it is an institution of profit. Why? Because if people learn the law, then the profession of law becomes null and void. Nobody's going to hire an attorney. So they have to keep the rules changing. They have to keep the ball rolling. They have to keep modifying and putting in special rules and changing the law every single year, so that even if you catch up to a certain point, then by the time you catch up, you have to keep catching up. And guess what? After you have caught up, now they create a parallel legislation. Now they create another reference in another legislation. So you read one act of parliament, another one also needs to be read because the other one is referenced. And then another one is referenced. So now you have a spaghetti just to deal with one matter. Right? So now, yes, enough is enough. So now, this is why we are drafting the first people constitution, not a new constitution per se. It is the first constitution that has the participation of the people directly. Brothers, lawful evening. All right. Brothers not ready yet. You have to be ready if you're going to come in the box. All right. So, yes, we are drafting the first constitution by the people. When you say new, right, you have to realize that the current constitution that we have in place, that we are saying is a constitution, is not an actual constitution. It is an order. It is a British Crown order. A matter of fact, constitution is in brackets. So when we say it is a new constitution, technically, yes, but correctly speaking, it is the first constitution. So to say something is, well, tomatoes at this point. Yes, it is a new constitution. Just to make things simple. So when we have a new constitution, we get to control the fact that the law would remain static. The constitution would be the only body of law. We would get rid of this whole parliamentary thing, because parliament again is a colonial concept, right? Exactly, the first constitution for the people by the people. Parliament is a colonial concept. When you have parliament, their only job is to confuse the people with legislation. The people cannot participate. We showed this last time as well. Where does parliament come from? What does the term mean? And, how it is formed? Who gives assent? Who gives power? How they do things? It is all colonial based from ancient times until now. It is still the same structure. The only difference is they are more crafty nowadays, right? They are doing the same thing, but they get people to just garner their attention on all of this rubbish, right? They are debating, they are coming up with jokes, they are garnering your attention on specific issues within society, but it has no bearing on you directly. You don't have a chance to submit or to suggest any changes or to stop them from keep making changes to the law. You don't have that option, right? UIC, Kojo, and others say the same thing. What do you mean by the same thing? Because to my knowledge, none of them call on the people to create a constitution. So tell me what you mean by the same thing they said. I have seen other groups who are out there picketing. They are Kojo says constitution, and UIC says a new constitution. UIC is a political party. They are within the box. So they absolutely did not say the same thing. UIC did not say the same thing. They come out with a manifesto. They did not come out with a constitution. And in fact, what they were trying to do is they were suggesting that the constitution should be modified. That is not what we are doing over here. We're not asking the crown for anything. All right, I'm going to bring you up. Enough is enough, Wagwan.
Yes, yes. Good night, or it's good morning over here in England.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm going to join you because I'm not able to type or text as quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
But yeah, so where are you at? Have you consulted the people to draw for a constitution?
Yeah, we've been doing that for the past 2 months. Where have you been?
Well, I'm still in the UK. I was to have been down there in Jamaica now, admittedly. But
Right, so
no, I would normally be down there this time of the year. The last 3 years I've been doing something within my community. But last year we got stung. Is that we let a mongoose in the chicken coop.
it sounds like you're still in the political arena.
Yeah, I'm still in the political arena, but I do would be in line with yourself. We need a new governing instrument that serve our needs, that enable us to, what do you say, keep our own resources rather than to make these foreign entities greater than they really are. Yeah, so I'm excited. I was on a platform since evening with Noel and Marvin Lickle. Yeah, because he himself is pursuing the line of being an independent, and I would encourage every fellow Jamaican to consider being independents and then coming together united, because that's what had attracted me to have joined Mr. Patterson some years back with the UIC. That's where I had met Marvin, because I've been into politics over in the UK for a number of years, and I think it's something that I ought to bring back, certainly in my community. I appreciate being a councillor, but I don't have the ambition to be an MP, because MPs are not honourable. They're subservient to businesses and opportunities.
Right.
That's from my own personal experience.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, that is worldwide.
Yeah. And that's why being a counselor, you're at the grassroots. So you're in tune, and more likely you live in your community. So that's where I am on the grander scale. To be an MP, it is it is problematic. I associate that with bringing foreign um, investment, but that has to be controlled. Yeah, because you need to sell your produce and minimize what you bring in. And that is a balance that is so hard. But obviously, for myself as a Jamaican living in the UK, seeing how the UK became so-called great because of its commonwealth, because we are the commoners and they suck our wealth, basically. And that's what enabled them to develop by our creativity as well as our resources. So I am on your side insofar as the constitution or instruments of governance is concerned. You say you've been on it 2 months. I know it's consultation takes a hell of a long time. But I'm sure you've got some models that you can use to, what do you say, compare.
Well, I think, before we can have a conversation on the constitutional draft, you would have to take a look at it first, because it sounds like you're speaking from speculation. You're not speaking from actual, knowledge of what you've seen.
I haven't seen it.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. We have been showing it every single Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday for the past, what, 3 months? So if you haven't seen it yet, then you would have to take a look first before we can speak on it, because much of what you're saying, we've already not only covered it, but we went into extensive detail to get the support from the people to make suggestions, to make changes, to suggest different topics to add,
Mm.
different protections to add, etc., etc. So, it's something that you would definitely have to see first before,
Okay, so have you got it that you could send it to me online?
let us show you how to get there. So for those who don't know, you can go to voiceofjamaica.com.
Okay, I'm gonna write it down because I do have a pen.
And you can also go on my profile. If you go on my profile, the link is there.
Voice of Jamaica. When you say profile, was that WhatsApp, Facebook,
No, TikTok.
TikTok?
Yeah.
And you're there as Voice of Jamaica.
No. On the top left of your screen is my profile, 876LB.
Okay, right.
Right?
So I was with you. Were you on Niall's thing? Where
Meryl?
have I
No.
seen you before? I've seen you. I've seen you on one of those platforms. I was on early this evening. What was I on today? Clubber? No.
Scrub?
Fido.
No.
Bala.
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I saw you on a platform today.
Okay.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
right. So you're dealing
No,
with
no.
your own thing. So you haven't seen a model out there that you could work with.
Hold on a second. For those who are interested, right, you go to voiceofjamaica.com, you scroll down a little bit, and the first post says a new constitution. You click on that, and you will have access to the constitutional draft right here. It says constitutional draft PDF edition. Right? Here's a Word version as well if you want to look at the Word edition, but the PDF edition is probably more easier to navigate, right? And there you have the entire draft that we have so far.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, thanks for that. I'll only say that there's a number of yourselves who are working on constitutions. I know, like Kojo is made several amendments, and he sent it to me. I remember with Mr. Patterson there was a constitution, um, but I don't know as to where that's gone now. I think,
Oh, so you're talking about when you said Kojo, I thought you were talking about the historical Kojo. You're talking about someone with that alias. Okay.
yeah, somebody with that name. I met him when I was down there, I think last year.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, I can only commend you because we do need to get ourselves away from this institution that has been oppressing us for all these years, which is very much represented by either sides of our political party that governs us. And the sooner we get away from it, and I'm hoping that will happen sooner rather than later, because the threat are on our doorsteps. When you see a warship, as an example, sitting in the dock of the bay, and then you're aware that there's pure mad people running the world right now, it doesn't sound good to know that they've got the trigger on what would be seen as what is that, a nuclear weapon of mass destruction.
Well,
And
we kind of don't want to go too deep into that because the live will get restricted. Um, but I get what you're saying, but something like this takes time, right?
yeah, I'm aware of that.
We
Are
can't rush
you
into anything,
are you in favor of what is being done by Marvin Lickle presently?
which is, I'm not
The
aware.
the petition. There's a petition.
Oh, the petition. Well, I don't know anything about the petition or where it goes, what it's supposed to be, what the next steps are, so I can't say whether I'm in support or not.
Oh, okay, okay. So you haven't seen it to read it like the way I haven't seen your constitution.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'd encourage you to try and find out. I think it's more so to do with the
No,
injustices
I've
out
seen
there
it.
answers.
I've seen it, but like I said, what he's doing is within the system. You, when you do things in the system, you need to do things in stages. What he has presented I don't know. I don't know if he's doing anything in stages or if it is just to gain petition to ask the leaders to step down, because that's what it says. The people of Jamaica is calling for the leaders that are named to step down. Now,
Petition can't do that.
a petition can. It is a direct. A petition is an ask, right?
No, it's a petition is just a petition where you're challenging the
No, you cannot.
authority.
You can't describe a word with a word. What is a petition?
A petition is an instrument to get issues addressed by government or any institution.
Okay. So is it mandated? Is it mandatory, or can they say no?
They can say no, but the
So
size
it
of
is
the
an ask.
petition,
So it's an ask.
huh?
If someone has the option of saying no, that means that you are just asking something. You don't have the power to tell them they have to do it. So it is discretionary.
Yeah, it is discretionary, but if you've got the people behind you, it can become a demand.
No, it can never be a demand.
Yeah, well, I'm saying that because it demands actions. Yeah, depending on the sensitivity as to the reason why you raise that petition.
All right. Well, my position again is the fact that again it is an ask. It is in the political arena, and it is also in the arena of asking. And if that is the case, and that is where that stops, then I don't see how it is going to be of any
It
different.
doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't stop there. It's a situation where it's a peaceful mean where it's non. It can be non-partisan. It's independent. It doesn't mean that we are confront because we're asking of you to sign. So it definitely is an ask from there. So it's like an
Okay.
agreement. So each one of those is like a grain of sand. They carry a collective weight. Yeah. So you submit that petition. It's a
Mhm.
peaceful means. Like I'm an activist, but I demonstrate. I protest. A petition is not as confrontational
Right.
as would be a protest.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you put that in so you can't be accused then of being violent in any way. So
That's
you
not true. I mean, later after the petition, if you do something,
no no no
or
no
you're
no
talking
no
about the petition being used cannot be stated as being a violent protest.
as a violent act.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter which way you spin it. It is a discretionary ask, and they can just say no. We're not going to do that.
They can say no, but it cannot be just ignored. Yeah, because
Okay.
the base of the petition I think is 15,000. The requirement or the aim is to get over 1,000,
All
over
right.
100,000.
Hold on. Quick question. If they say no, then what?
Then you escalate it where you either demonstrate or you protest.
And then what? This has happened before, so I'm just asking you. We take these steps, and then
If you keep ignoring the people, then the people is gonna uprise.
so now we turn to violence.
No, it doesn't mean to say it's violence. The people usually who use the violence is the what do you say, the opposition, because they want to subdue
All right.
you.
All right, my
Yeah.
brother.
But if you outweigh it, then you have to wait a full term, which is 4 years, which you then have the opportunity to vote that person out. That is a
All
long
right.
game.
Right. That's political, just like we said in the beginning. But we're going too far off topic here because, like I said, we don't really do political discussions over here. I get what you're saying, but what we're doing is outside the political arena or the government arena per se. So, we can't go down this road of theoreticals. Again, it is something practical. It is something that is happening, but the viewpoint over here is completely 180 degree. Like this is going that way and we are going this way. So two separate routes, right? But again, it is something commendable, but within the system, it is not going to be effective because this is not the first time something like this happened. It's not the first time we've had protests. It is not the first time we've had people basically begging and asking that our leaders or the people who are in office do specific things so that we, the people, can feel safe and comfortable. And it is just not happening. So honestly, continuing to ask is kind of like beating a dead horse.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it doesn't happen down there because you've got like nil regards towards it. A lot of people don't even understand a petition. A lot of people don't understand protests. And I can
Okay.
understand it from a standpoint of a nation who has been under oppression. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in the UK. So I
But
see the effect of protesting.
right, yeah. So we're not gonna go down that road. We have to stick on our constitutional draft road. And if people want to focus on that, all good.
Yeah,
But
well, I wish you well on that, but I know that is a slower course that you're embarking on because you're still at the consultation stage.
right. Well, if you stick around over the next couple of weeks, then you will see where we're at.
Yeah, well, yeah, I respect. Let me just say, I respect your action. Yeah, but it's still too slow for me. But I will have a read off, and if I can feed into it, then obviously I will feed into it because that's what consultation is about, and it is about each one
Absolutely.
teaching one.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Big up yourself. If you have a suggestion after you've read at least the section that interests you more, then we can definitely take a look. We can expand on it, and we go from there.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be happy to do that. I've done the same with UIC. I've done it with others down there. So yeah, okay, all right. But
Okay.
I would encourage you to obviously look at the petition.
I
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
I have.
and to move that forward as what you say an asking measure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man.
As
Big
a-
up yourself. Thank you.
okay. All right. Blessings.
All right. So you see, I don't set a timeline on these things, because I want to make sure we completely address all of our grievances in the constitutional draft. So what that means is any problem that we are having currently in our system, and we can look back and see all the problems we've had, excuse me, I want to make sure that we incorporate everything. You see all the loophole them, you see all the loose ends, you see all of the discretionary rulings, all of them something there we are get rid of. So if it takes us another couple of weeks to complete the draft, that is what it is going to take. This is not a race. Yes, things are bad. Yes, things are horrendous in many cases. But this is something of such great importance. We cannot rush into just making it a reality just because we feel that we can't wait. If the constitutional draft was not there, then what would we do? We would still go about our business. We would still have to wait, right? So we already survive. So we don't need to rush into anything. It doesn't matter what anyone says. We are going to do it right. If we have unaddressed issues, just like we just included the last two sections in the last 2 weeks. You know, wild animals and pets. You know, all of the things that were submitted that make sense to benefit us all. We don't want to leave anything out and have to wait 10 years after the Constitution is instituted to get some of these other things included. Because remember, the constitutional draft has a protective period. It cannot be changed after 10 years of institution, meaning once it is enacted, that's it. 10 years of rule. When the 10-year comes, we have to put all of the amendments, all of the grievances, all of the changes that we need in that one change. Once that change happens, no more changes for 10 years. So this is again to stabilize society. We don't want what we have. What we have is not working for us. So therefore, we have to put things in place so that we don't fall into the same trap that has been trapping us from 1645, when they had the first constitutions being instituted by colonial rule. Right? We do not want any of those traps to drag us back into foolishness. And this is why we are careful. Now, enough is enough. That is what all the agents ask, all the people from government. We are not going to give you any details before time. We're not going to be disclosing how and by what mechanism the Constitution will become effective. All right? So when the time comes, you will see that. But that is not a roadmap that we're going to disclose ahead of time. So anyways, again, for those who are interested in still making submissions for the draft, we're at the final stages. So I would encourage you to submit those suggestions as soon as possible. Again, I'm going to show you one more time. All right. You go to voiceofjamaica.com. Let us start from the beginning. This is voiceofjamaica.com. Right? You scroll down. You click on the first post that says a new constitution. And from here, you have the link to the constitutional draft PDF edition. Right? You can simply scroll down. You scroll down to the table of contents, and you can see the various sections of law that is included in the constitutional draft. And from here, you figure out something that piques your interest. I am not telling you have to read the entire document, but if you're going to make a suggestion, for example, enforcement of judgments and limits on state force, right? You look up that section. You see, tell you the page 44. You go to page 44 and you take a look, you read through, and if there is something you would like to add, you make your submission. The submissions can be made on the same draft page. You see it say constitutional draft suggestions. Right there. You can put your suggestion in and you hit the submit button. And you're done. Okay? So, again, we're not really going to take any more suggestions after this week. We're just going to do final review, sharpening up the language, basically just standardizing the draft so that not only is it more searchable, these are going to be clickable links. So if you want to go to a specific section, you don't have to scroll down to the page. You can just click on the title and it will bring you to that section. Some of these sections might be expanded later on, so the page numbers might change a little bit. But again, that is nothing that you're going to really be concerned about, because all of this is still going to be correct, right? But the different sections are going to be sharpened and, put together so that we have one comprehensive document that is ready for assent of the people. All right? So we need a new government. That is also already in the draft. The style of government, the purpose of government, the power of government, the limits of government, all of those things are already there. But again, if you feel something should be included or it may be better to do it this way or that way, as long as we can make it neutral where it's beneficial to either most people or everyone, then we will certainly add it to the draft and we will finalize everything, you know, in the coming weeks. All right. So I hope everyone had a good drafting session today, even though we covered many topics. And we're going to continue again on Saturday. Today our Wednesday. Yeah, today our Wednesday. So we're going to do this again Saturday at 6 o'clock Jamaica time. And we are going to continue to review and see how best we can complete the draft. Again, we are pretty much done, but just a few more touches to make. All the sections are now complete. We just have just a little bit of tweaking to do, and also to go back over the sections to make sure everything is properly expanded, confined, and so forth. For example, citizenship status was also updated so that certain benefits benefit the natives first, and you know, just various different things that need to be accounted for with a system like this. We cannot have outsiders coming in and benefiting right away with certain things. So yeah, things like that. So we're gonna refine and we're gonna expand on certain things like that. And once we're done, then it is time for stage 2. But like I said, knowledge first. Knowledge first. We cannot move forward and just action, because strategy and knowledge is always going to beat skill. Let me say that again for those in the back. Strategy and knowledge will always beat skill, because skill requires knowledge in the first place. All right? So big up on yourself. Lawful. Always. See you all on Saturday.